Hey everyone, this is Shauna, and I'm also here with Maddie. We're with Visual Dynasty production course. We are here with a history-making young gentleman. We'll let him introduce himself. Good morning.
Introduce myself.
Yes, you have to introduce yourself.
Let's see. My name is Warren Wheller, and I'm here because I spent most of my life at 17 years old as a part of aviation, either as a career or as a flight instructor, or what it became after that, which is now only flight instructors. They don't let old people fly airliners anymore. I think 63 is mandatory.
Yeah.
It's the oldest you can be and still fly for a commercial airline.
Awesome. So,
But watch out, because you can still charter a plane at a local airport, and the pilot can be 80 years old.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Gosh. So tell us, what made you get into aviation?
Believe it or not, all I ever wanted to do was get a boat, go out in a boat, sailing or a powerboat or whatever, fishing or whatever. And my sister started taking flying lessons at the Raleigh-Durham Airport.
Wow. Okay.
And I didn't have my driver's license yet, so I drove her to the airport once, and they said, well, you can get in the back seat if you want. This was a 4-seat airplane for training. And I got in the airplane, and she took flying lessons, and when we got back, that was it. The boats had to go. All I wanted to do was fly. But you have to be introduced, and that's something I emphasize. Our youth are not all being introduced to flying. They don't have an opportunity to decide whether they want to do that. I'm not saying everybody should do it, but they should at least be exposed to it, so they can make that decision.
Exposure is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't expose your kids to things, then they don't know.
No, they don't. And later on, it's really too late.
Yeah. And saying a friend of mine used to say, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So what did your parents think when you made the decision to go into aviation?
Which one?
Either one.
No, it's not either one. My father was flying all over the place, not as a pilot, but he traveled all over the place on an airplane. My mother was super afraid to get on an airplane.
Oh, wow.
We finally got her on an airplane after I was a pilot once. Flew her down to Florida and back. And she, when the wheels left the ground, she closed her eyes or didn't open them until she felt the wheels touch the ground again. That's how much afraid. But she was my biggest support.
Yeah.
Mothers like that.
They are.
Yeah.
Then, well, okay. So tell us what is some of the goals that you accomplished?
Well, becoming a commercial pilot and actually getting hired by a commercial airline. I don't think I told you this, but I was hired. I actually wouldn't tell the whole story. I applied for a company to fly for a company called Piedmont Airlines. At the time, they were a small airline based in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I don't know if you knew that or not. Yeah, but never heard back from them. It had been like 2 months, 3 months past, and I didn't hear back from the interview.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it's just things come together that don't normally fit together. My father was on a committee with Terry Sam.
Okay.
He was a ex-governor at the time. And my father happened to tell him that I had been to Winston-Salem for an interview with Piedmont Airlines and hadn't heard anything back from him. Well, it just turned out that Terry Sandwick was a friend of a fellow named Tom Davis, who was the president of Piedmont Airlines.
Wow.
He said, well, I'll call him up to find out. He didn't even know that I had been there for an interview. He called down to the people who did the interview and said that have you interviewed Warren Wheller? And they said, yes. Did it look like he might be qualified? He said, what? Or did he look like he was qualified? He said, well, it looked like he probably was. Well, if he's qualified, hire him. That's how he got hired. So you never could tell,
Yeah.
where the opportunity is coming from.
Well, what Mr. Wheeler did not mention was that he is the first African American that was hired at Piedmont Airlines. So that's amazing.
As a pilot, you mean?
As a pilot.
Well,
yes.
let me tell you that I was close to being the first African American that was hired by Piedmont as anything. So they had no ticket agents and no flight attendants that were African American when I got there.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's very incredible. That's history making. Yeah.
But it wasn't intentional. The flying was what I was interested in. I won't say I was embarrassed that I was integrating the airline. I was just not comfortable to be introduced as that person.
Understood.
That was only there to integrate the airline.
You were there because that was your passion.
I was there because I wanted to fly an airplane. Golden opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Got any questions, lady?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say that's interesting because you're like doing what you love.
Yeah.
You really are. You really were doing what you love, and I understand what you're saying. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Maddie, of course. She just introduced me, but I'm a musician, and I didn't see myself really doing music as a career. I just loved it, and the opportunities came when I just kept being active with the things that I love. But it was a little embarrassing at first because I'm just like, I know I tear it up when I'm in the room by myself and I'm playing the piano, but what will it look like when I'm in front of people and they're like watching me do something that I just enjoy doing while I'm at home and stuff. But yeah, I did want to ask you, so you became a pilot, or you started taking lessons around what, the 19?
I don't even remember. But I don't know how old I was. I was like 16 years old.
You were 16. So if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
How about 8 and a 0 with it?
Okay, so
Wow.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, you look good.
Black don't crack.
Mhm.
I said black don't crack.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
that would take away the significance if that were true, because black does crack. You're special.
okay.
You look good, but I imagine you take care of yourself. Do you have any advice as far as like taking care of yourself, or
No.
no?
No, I don't do anything that people who take care of themselves would say not do, but I don't know what that is. So I guess,
okay.
my first love was like not airplanes, it was boats.
Okay.
I used to jump in the water and go swimming. People would go, "You jump in that water and go swimming?" I said, yeah. Why don't you? I mean,
Yeah.
but that's something you learn early, and that I had the opportunity to learn to fly early. So it's important that our youth get exposed to things early when they can make a decision later on to which way they want to go. That's just my opinion, based on what I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you remember anything that was going on around the time that you were younger? Because if you're 80 years old, I imagine my mom, she was born around the time that that Martin Luther King had passed away, and my grandmother, she was an activist, so she did the 1 million man. Was it the 1 million man march?
Yeah.
And so I'm always interested in what happened around that time. What was your thought process, or were you even concerned with that?
Well, that was happening around the same time that I was hired by Piedmont Airlines. But you remember I was hired because my father was working on some committee. They were involved in some of the racial things that were going on. And he was on a committee with Terry Sanford, who happened to know the president of Piedmont Airlines, and called him up when I didn't hear back from an interview that I took up there. It's been about 3 months since I heard anything. And He contacted the president of Piedmont Airlines. They called down to the people who did the interview and interviewed me and asked him if I'd been, as near as I can tell, I can't firsthand this part, but I just what I hear from your side. But he asked if I was qualified. They said, looks like he probably is. And they said, well, if he's qualified, to hire him. I'm not phone. That's how I got hired. I wasn't going to be hired because they didn't want to stick their necks out.
Okay.
They hired the first black, and as I was just saying a minute ago, I wasn't just the first black pilot. When I got hired as a pilot, there were no black flight attendants. There were no black ticket agents. But who knows what else? I can't go. I don't know if there were any black mechanics or not, but I don't remember it.
Okay.
Okay. So the whole industry was a closed door situation as far as blacks were concerned at Piedmont Airlines. Now, Piedmont wasn't a major airline. Now, they eventually merged with Allegheny Airlines, if I don't know if you remember them. That became that, they called that merged company US Air. Then US Air became American Airlines. Everybody thinks American bought US Air, but actually American got in trouble. US Air bought American. And they took the name because it was a better name, they thought.
That is cool. That's interesting to find out.
Yeah. So, being in the right place at the right time with the right exposure. I can't take credit for any of that. I'm just happy that I had parents, including a mother who was terribly afraid to fly. So still supported me, learning to fly and being a pilot.
Yeah.
Now, there was an incident that I can remember. It actually was in Asheville, I think. One of Piedmont's few crashes. And I was out flying that day as a Piedmont pilot.
Fun.
And the news, you know how that is. It was Piedmont airplane crashes in Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Just so happens I was also flying into Asheville that day,
Wow.
Oh, wow.
about a half an hour after the crash.
What was the
Wow.
cause?
Well, the cause was a small airplane that was in a holding pattern on the wrong side of the airport.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how aviation, the things that the rules we have in aviation weren't created in the beginning. They were created as things went along, and some of them were created because of accidents. They've just, I hope, gotten all of them now. He took some of the old being more activists, but anyway, the plane in Asheville was holding it. He was told to hold at the Asheville radio beacon, which was on the north side of the airport. But there was another beacon that was called Asheville. No, it wasn't. The other beacon was called the Asheville radio beacon. And the other was Broad River, and he was supposed to go to that. But he just assumed because he was being told to hold in Asheville that it was the Asheville radio beacon, and he held it the wrong one, which was on the side of the airport where another airplane was coming. So as he was holding in, that airplane came in and the two of them collided. So, yeah. Now they don't name radio beacons guidance by the same name as an airport anymore because of that accident.
Wow.
So there won't be an Asheville beacon at Asheville. There'll be Broad River and then some other name. So you have to identify it by the name. And you not assume that because it was a radio beacon and you were going to Asheville, that's the beacon you went to.
You know, that makes sense why they have like really long layovers. And then when they have layovers, they might switch like they might switch where you take your flight. Like when I was in Texas, they moved me to a different gate probably like 5 or 6 times before we finally left. And I'm like, it makes sense because if like certain flights can't take off and you have to take off from a certain side in order for like the planes to like leave like at a good time where they're not crashing into each other,
Yeah.
or you're not like while one is landing, another one is going out, and they're kind of like close. Like it makes more sense why it's a layover, and it just makes where, okay, I'm gonna stop complaining when there are layovers, because you never know what you're being protected from when you're waiting.
true.
So
Yeah, it's a much safer, and I don't want to say through trial and error, but every time there was an error, there was a change in the regulations. Much safer now than it was then because of that. But if you watch the news lately, there's been some pretty close calls on television just in the last 2 or 3 months. So
yeah, there was a when I was in Texas, that was like 3 weeks ago. There was thank God the plane didn't crash, but when it landed, they had to land. It was an emergency landing, and they landed in the grass. So a lot of people got hurt, and even though they were wearing their seatbelts, because they tell when there's going to be turbulence or anything, they tell you make sure your seatbelts are tight and on. Somehow people still have bruises on their head and everything, and I'm just like, I can't imagine like if it if it was a real, like if it really did have a serious accident. And I think the airline is being sued, and it wasn't Spirit. I think it might have been Delta. It was that happened with Delta.
could have been, yeah.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people try to clown Spirit because of how inexpensive it is, but I'm like, I don't think that really matters. I think what matters is who's flying the plane. And if they're following if they're following the regulations, then
But there's a lot of people involved too. There's a recent one, the most recent one that I've seen on television it was an airplane taking off and one landing on the same runway at the same time. And the controller didn't catch it to the last minute.
That was a close call.
Yeah.
that is a very close call.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I don't know what the visibility was, because normally you would think the plane would be, if it was a day like today, which is severe clear, you would think the pilots would have seen each other no matter what. They would have seen it. They were getting ready to crash into an airplane and avoid us. But it was probably a day when the visibility wasn't that good.
Probably so.
And they didn't catch it at the last minute. The controller started screaming, and everybody started screaming when they finally realized what mistake had been made and what accident was about to happen. And it was avoided, but it wasn't a pretty sight.
Yeah, when there's a lot of mist too, I know that could affect it. That definitely, like you would think.
What, fog?
Fog, yeah.
Well, yeah, but it shouldn't. Actually, I think probably a foggy day is one of the safest days to fly.
Oh no, I'm talking about as far as them seeing each other.
They don't have to.
Oh.
So you're not planning on you're flying the instrument landing systems when it's a day where your visibility is low. So there's not another airplane that's flying visually coming in with an airplane coming in instrumental. It's all the same. They've all got to go out and get in line and take the instrument approach. So they're not looking to see each other. And hopefully the controller didn't give two airplanes the same clearance at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to happen, but when it's visual and everybody can see everybody is when we've had some close calls recently.
So speaking of education and training, can you tell us about the school that you started?
Well, I don't have the school that I started. What I'm doing now, that was in the past. What I'm doing now is trying to support people who already have school to take young people in who want to get involved in aviation and introduce them to it, take them to the early stages of flight. The private pilot license or even a commercial pilot license. You've got about 10 years worth of work to do before you get anywhere near being hired by an airline. So I'm just trying to encourage those programs to get going and raise the funds to help the parents pay for those programs. Let's say if you've got one child, you're going to have a hard time just even paying for that. And you got two or three, well, they invariably, all three of them will want to find out what it's all about, try to take pilot lessons. So you've got to have some help usually to do that. And then if you want to go get college education on top of it, you see the problem. It's on top of the commercial flying and all that sort of thing. It's a pretty expensive course.
Okay, so, which is why you all are assisting with the nonprofit, correct?
This is what?
The nonprofit.
I didn't hear it quick.
So that's why you're assisting eventually
That's
with the
what we're supposed to do.
nonprofit.
That's what my nonprofit is supposed to. Now, we haven't started it yet, but we will.
And what's the name of the nonprofit?
It's Airolina Youth Flight Training.
It's yeah. I think that's pretty incredible.
Well,
Yeah.
I encourage other people to do it. You know, I can't do it so much. That's the reason why I don't have one school. If I can get the other schools start teaching youth,
Yeah.
then you've got a real pool of people who may move on to become commercial pilots. And they may decide they don't want to become commercial, but there's other opportunities too. There's also opportunities to be involved in airline maintenance. You know, even being a flight attendant if you don't want to be a pilot. Yes, it has become fairly profitable. So, you know, these are opportunities. There's a big opportunity. Ticket agents, you know,
Yeah.
the whole aviation industry is full of opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Education is definitely important, especially for those who may not be able to afford to do so. That's definitely where the nonprofit will come in.
Yeah.
So you have any more questions?
Go ahead.
So I was reading up on you and I saw that you went to A&T. How was that?
How was A&T?
Yeah.
Why are you laughing? No, are you? Did you go to A&T?
So I didn't go to A&T, but I have friends that go to A&T currently, but I know today's A&T might be different from what A&T.
I have to admit, I don't know what they have in the aviation program anymore, but I went to A&T because they said they had an aviation program. But the aviation program that they had consisted of, if you would happen to still be around when you were a senior and doing fairly well, you could get a private pilot's license. Well, at the time I was a junior,
That's impressive.
a freshman in college, I already had a private pilot's license. So there's no reason we sticking around for 4 or 5 more years just to get what I already had. That's when I went to a flight school out in Oklahoma to get the commercial pilot's license. That flight school, interestingly, has moved to Florida, and they're all offering college degrees now. They didn't back this.
So the A&T information was probably just a sprinkle for A&T. There's somebody that created history there.
Well, I don't know I have to admit, I don't know what program they have now. They may have an advanced program, but they didn't have.
Okay, sure.
But all they had is a program where you could get a private pilot's license if you were a good student and had good grades all the way till your senior year. You could get into that program to the private pilot's license. But now, I have to admit, I don't know if they've gone beyond that now. So don't say that I'm condemning them for not having it, because they may have advanced the program to a different level now.
Oh yeah, no,
Interestingly enough, this is a little competition, but the one university in North Carolina that does have and has had an commercial pilot aviation program is Elizabeth City State. Which is very interesting that this one of the few black schools in North Carolina has had the only aviation program in North Carolina.
Okay.
Everybody likes to talk about North Carolina, that's where the Wright brothers did the first flight. No, they came here to do the first flight, and then they left again. They just went back home. So most of the early aviation was not done in North Carolina, except for that first flight. But that was because the conditions were right. So they thought they were right for that first airplane flight down to Kitty Hawk, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Just by Creek.
Okay.
So, Airolina, where can we find that? Would that be the first introduction? Well, I wasn't the first introduction, but for this year, the first introduction to that? Is that going to be in, say, the First County?
No, we're just getting started on that. This is a different thing than I had in the past.
Right.
And it's a brand new nonprofit that we've got to finish developing it and then get out and do what we're supposed to do.
Okay.
With introducing the program to the various people who already are engaged in teaching flying.
And
And get the emphasis on the youth and get the youth interested go into the program. But the many parts of that you've got, particularly for minorities, you've got to come up with some way to help support the program, because it's a very expensive program to go all the way to be as commercial possible. That there needs to be some help along the way, and that's what we'll be trying to do, is find a way to help and those that are willing to help. But it's the program is basically just a nonprofit on a piece of paper at this point. We haven't really gotten the program into its operational stage.
I think that when that does take place, when it happens, I think that'll be a good thing for our youth, especially our youth, for them to be able to participate in.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if they don't have to, doesn't mean that they're going to be a pilot or choose to be a pilot. They may find other things that they're interested in, connected to aviation, like maintenance, or even being a flight attendant, or being a ticket agent. You know, all of it. There's so many opportunities in aviation that they would be turned on to as by being connected to the aviation field. But I find you all the time today that have never even been somewhere on a commercial plane. They've never traveled on an airplane.
That's true.
It's kind of hard to decide that you want to be associated with something you've never been connected to, associated with, familiar with, you know. So.
Well, the good thing about word of mouth is we can put it out there that this is going to happen, and if those children or parents who are interested in piquing their children's interest of doing something different other than the norm that they expect us to do, I think that'll be awesome. Yeah.
Well, in the past, we've had a program where we would take youth to the airport and have a day where they all got to go up in the airplane. Now, I'm not talking about an airplane ride. They go up in an airplane that's normally used for training, and they get to sit in one of the seats, not the captain's seat, but the other seat that's next to it, which has the same control and everything. They actually get to take controls.
Oh, wow.
So that changes our whole perspective. You know, it puts it in a whole different light.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything else you have, Maddie?
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask, so did you even, because I've been listening to you, are you even considering starting back up your nonprofit, or is it just kind of something where you did it for that time and now it's like?
This is a different nonprofit that I haven't started. It already is, it's prone to the nonprofit. It's just not active yet. We haven't activated it to go out and do what we're going to do.
Okay. So what bits and pieces do you have, or what do you want to
see pieces? This is a good start. Get the word out, and as much as I hate to see it, even though we're not going to be flying the flight training, we still need to have the funds to get around and demonstrate to people what we're trying to do, and a program where you're not teaching flies, but you're taking the kids up in an airplane and letting them take the controls to see what it's all about. We've got to be able to do that.
Okay.
So, otherwise, how will a student become interested? He doesn't know what he's interested in at that point. And there are other opportunities. There's so many opportunities associated with aviation beyond just being a pilot, not just being a pilot, but beyond being a pilot. There's, I think as I mentioned before, flight attendants. There's aircraft maintenance. It's over and over again. Ticket agents, working for the airline. You know, there's just many opportunities that are associated with aviation that they may never be familiar with. They're not teaching it around schools, most of them. So where would they learn if their parents aren't flying?
So what is your takeaway? What of all the years of aviation, what is the main takeaway you want the audience to know or to keep in mind to remember?
Well, because I have a very biased opinion. It's a great career opportunity. I guess that's the biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
But it's not cheap. You have to spend some time to get to the point where you can actually take advantage of it and become qualified to do it and get hired. And at the various stages of flight that you can have an opportunity.
Awesome.
Okay. I hope I made that clear.
You did. You made it clear. Well, Mr. Wheller, we want to thank you for taking your time out today to sit down with us and speak to us about aviation. We appreciate that.
Okay, good opportunity. I'm not talking about spaceships, but who knows?
Yeah, and we definitely thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming here.
Okay, thank you for asking me.